I'm Gold Derby editor Daniel Montgomery here with Michael K. Williams, who plays Montrose Freeman in Lovecraft Country, a performance that earned him his 5th Emmy nomination in 7 years. What did you think, not just of this Emmy nomination for yourself, but for how much recognition the show got top to bottom? 18 nominations, including Best Drama Series. So many of your co-stars were nominated. So many of the craft people, Misha for writing. What was all that like?
To have a show like Lovecraft be acknowledged on this level with this many nominations, it's huge. It's a huge sign that things are changing in our industry. To have Black actors lead a narrative like this, with the that touches on the racism and the race issues in America, and what the Black American family experience really looks like. It to have it be acknowledged on this level, it gave me hope.
And it does so through a sci-fi and fantasy lens and horror, and using those genres to explore that. What was it like wrapping your head just around the mythology, the magic, and all of that that went into telling this particular story?
I thought that those aspects were very interesting. I'm a first generation immigrant. My mother's from the Bahamas and my father is from the South. So anyone that knows that dynamic knows that magic is a part of our culture. In the Bahamas, we call it obia, and in the South, we call it root. And to see these narratives expressed and told, these stories told through art, I thought was very revealing and very honest. In regards to the monsters, I had a harder time wrapping my head around the monsters of racism and how we treat each other as human beings in this world. That was more scary to me than the monsters. The monsters represented the ugliness that us as humans sometimes we show each other, and that landed more real to me than the monster. So I had a harder time wrapping my head around that, and the monsters were actually cool in a weird way.
And your character Montrose is dealing with so much more on top of what is already this incredibly challenging life of the Jim Crow era in the U.S., because he's also a gay man dealing with his feelings, being in the closet, the abuse he received from his father. What was it like exploring that in that era? That experience that he had and how he grew up?
It was kind of liberating in a weird way. By the time we meet Montrose, he's experienced so much trauma. He's been beaten down by his community. He survived the Tulsa riots. The Tulsa massacre, excuse me. And then his family moves to the south side of Chicago, which was like a war zone within itself. And, through all of that, he's being oppressed in his community for wanting to love the way he wants to love. So to have the opportunity to have all of those complexities of, again, the Black experience, to be able to have these nuances, it was challenging and it was liberating at the same time. And, I never really, in my mind, I never put a title on Montrose's sexuality. He, in my mind, my approach to it was he had been told how to feel, what to do, how to be, what was a definition of being a man in the Black community. All of these stereotypes that were placed on him as law. It arrested him. He was trapped in all of these scenarios, and we got to see him just explore, experiment. Who knows if Montrose is going to actually be, gay or not? We don't know that. He does. I don't believe he knows that. I believe what we saw was him reliving his, this late teens, or the college years, when you experiment, whatever. I believe that's what we were witnessing. Him just allowing himself to be unapologetically be.
And the episode you submitted to Emmy voters as an example of your work was Rewind 1921, which takes us back, the characters literally back in time to the Tulsa massacre, and Montrose reliving a lot of the trauma that he went through. What stood out about that episode in particular to you?
The main thing that stood out to me about that episode was the richness and the regalness of the community of which he came from. We don't get to see that very often in Hollywood. That experience and that legacy of the Black experience it kind of gets washed away with with what's happening now. And to be able to go back in time through Montrose's eyes and see that sliver of history, of American history, it was crippling for me. It made me realize that I not only have my own personal trauma from being an adult and growing up the way I did, but I also have generational trauma. I have blood trauma, things that were passed down to me from situations that happened when I wasn't even alive. And to be able to live through that through Montrose, it woke that up in me so much so that I started going to therapy after that season.
And there are a couple of scenes in particular that are especially impactful in the episode, and one of them is, his scene with Tick, Jonathan Majors, where he's seeing the moment the boy he loved is killed, and he wants to save him. He wants to preserve the future that he made, and the son that he has, and all of the complex feelings involved in that. How long did that take to prepare for and to get yourself emotionally ready for?
Not very long. The narrative is close to my heart. Anyone that knows my personal life knows that I'm a father of three. I raised three children that are not my biological, and I have two sons and a daughter. And my middle son, that relationship between Tick and Montrose, it mirrored my relationship with my middle child, Kareem. And it there was a moment in his and I relationship as father and son where my demons, my past threatened our relationship. And I had to make some hard choices to grow up and to be a man and to be a real father. And so the parallels between that narrative of father and son was something that was very close to my heart. And I can get a little emotional just thinking about it now, but it didn't take long. It didn't take long at all.
And then towards the end of the episode, where he's watching just the violence of the massacre, and he gives this speech, sort of remembering all of the people who were lost and how violently they were lost. That's like an incredibly impactful moment to watch. What was that like to shoot and to read that dialogue?
That was the hardest. And what that did for me was it sent me back to my home, my little projects in East Flatbush, Brooklyn. And what that scene represented to me is all the potential lost in my community that I grew up in. That was genocide that happened in 1921. And that genocide still exists today in communities that look like mine. And so when Montrose is looking out that hotel window and calling off all of the names of the people that were murdered that day, what it did for me was it sent me back home to my portal, and I saw all of the murder, all of the death, all of the drug addiction, all of the poverty that claimed so many lives on the streets that I grew up on, and that was extremely painful.
And for all the pain that Montrose goes through and can bring out of you as an actor, we also do get a moment of joy in an earlier episode, Strange Case, where we see him with his the man he's seeing, and he is on the dance floor at one point in that episode. We sort of see him being himself, finding himself for the first time, perhaps for the first time in that moment. What was it like, sort of getting to show a kind of liberated feeling to him, in addition to all the pain that he's going
through? That scene, I can only, just my experience, that scene to me was my homage to the gay community. Anyone that knows me knows that my best friend, the one who taught me how to survive in the streets, was a lesbian named Robin. She's no longer with me in the physical, but we were like 16, 17-year-old kids, and she saw my softness. I wasn't a very aggressive young man. I was very shy, timid, and I was soft in my demeanor. And that was those character traits were not considered valuable in the hood, and she saw my softness, and she took me under her wing and took me to the village and took me to gay clubs. And so it was ironic. The first time that I wasn't called a name because a derogatory slur because I was soft. I wasn't called a derogatory slur because of my dark skin. I was just accepted as I was, as I am in my body, in my skin, in my being. The first time I felt that unconditionally was in a gay club, ironically. And I got to revisit what that felt like for me in that scene. So when you see Montrose just letting go and just dancing and not caring who looks at him and not caring how he looks, he was, that old saying, dance like no one is watching. The dance is about living our best lives and being free. And that's what that scene represented to me. And it was the first time I felt that, ironically, was also in a gay setting in New York City. I got to revisit that.
And you mentioned how fathers and sons, the relationships are so core to this character, and brings up feelings in your own life. How is it developing that relationship with Jonathan Majors throughout the season? Because there's so much love, but there's also so much dark history between them, a lot of conflict. So what was that relationship like with you as actors developing that?
Well, Jonathan and our bond, it goes way beyond the set. One of the main reasons I jumped at this project was because I knew that he was on it. We had worked together on a previous project. We didn't have scenes together, but we were hanging out almost every day in San Francisco, working. So I jumped at the opportunity. I think that, just on the record, I think he's brilliant, and he's so wise beyond his years. I forget that I had children older than he. I forget that. He's so, he's just a beautiful human being. He's focused, and he's just brilliant as an artist. And we would just have these talks, and we would, he actually called me, he would call me Pop off the set. I can count the times Jonathan has called me Michael. Even to right now, if I call Jonathan right now, Pop, what up, Pop? And that was always his name for me. So we brought that personal relationship to the set and to the character, and it was just effortless, and it was seamless.
And then, the season of the show tells a wonderfully complete story, but of course, fans of the show like myself, and I'm sure cast members and crew, were disappointed that the show isn't coming back for another season. What did you think when you found that out, and was there a lot in Montrose that you still would have loved to explore?
Absolutely. There's a lot more in Montrose that I would have loved to explore. But with situations like this, I subscribe to the narrative that there are no mistakes. And I truly believe that Lovecraft came to do exactly it did exactly what it came to do, which was spark the narrative, spark the conversation, change the narrative, um, to show the Black experience in America in a different light. You know, I think we'll be talking about Lovecraft Country for a long time in its one little season. And I just want to go on note to that fact to bring this up. Uh, the week after the 10th episode aired, 1 week later to the day, to 7 days later, they just miraculously found 300 or so unmarked graves in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I truly believe that that narrative, that story would have gotten washed away had it not been for us, for shows like Lovecraft Country and The Watchmen. We can't forget what they did at The Watchmen neither. You know, that's the gift, that's the power that we have as artists in Hollywood. We get to change the narrative. We get to shine light on things that would normally get washed aside. So I think Lovecraft did that brilliantly in this one little season.
And with the show nominated for 18 Emmys, and the Emmys coming up next month, of course, everything with the pandemic has been up in the air. Rates going down, rates coming back up. So I'm not exactly sure what the format will be, but do you think you'll be able to reunite with some of the cast and crew, or go to an in-person event, or what do you think you'd be looking forward to there?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to the in-person situation. Prior to the pandemic, I used to be a little shy of for people who may not know, as you well, I'm quite sure the award shows they're intense. It's a lot of work. You spend 3/4 of that day hungry, and in shoes that hurt our feet. Shout out to the ladies, but this pandemic has made me realize how necessary that process is to what we do. We work so hard and we're always off somewhere, wrestling pigs in the mud. Yes, I said it, wrestling pigs in the mud. Trust me, it'll make sense a year from now. That we don't get to celebrate each other and get dressed up, and what people, what the audience sometimes I believe may not see is the amount of hard work that goes into what we do. So we get to, shine up and dress up and, be amongst each other and love on each other and celebrate each other at these award shows. I think it's very necessary and it's beautiful. And I eagerly look forward to that again. And it's something that I will never take for granted ever. But and to your note, I feel hopeful it will happen. I believe it was the Oscars when they gave me hope. The Oscars and the Grammys gave me hope. I believe they did a version of an in-person award show for both of those arenas, and I thought it was done tastefully and beautifully.
Well, I want to congratulate you again on your Emmy nomination and all of the success of the show, and look forward to seeing you wrestling pigs in the next year. And thank you so much for talking to me and always being so open about your work and your experiences.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and for seeing me. Thank you.